How was school? Miss Wingett said I was amazing. What a nice compliment. I'm not sure. She was kind of banging her head against the wall when she said it. Hey everybody. So today I wanted to go through some of my archives and some of the articles that I haven't gotten a chance to review for you because I've been a little too busy. And I'm not a fan of having restrictions on my time because then I get to teach more of you kids. So, the article that I wanted to discuss was about restraints, and the little comic that I showed earlier was probably a nod to how teachers who feel like bashing their heads against the wall probably would rather restrain those kids, but it's better for them not to, better for the child not to do that, and all around just better to not restrain. And the picture, which you can't really see that I drew, was supposed to be a lawn chair next to a beach or a pool with a little umbrella, and it says relax, don't restrain. I hope you watched my video called Restrain, which I published in February of last year. So I wanted to be creative and put myself in a straitjacket and try to escape that and show how it doesn't really help much because I can't hold up articles or anything. But let's just look at this quick little America or Britain's Got Talent clip.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the straitjacket undo! Nope, not feeling it. Phil, go in the back. We're gonna do it again. Now, what we're... No, that's fine. I'll do it.
All right, Cliff, you're just going to grab that strap. Now, when you do it, let's just,
Down, 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 down. Guess who's back, back again, yeah. Shady's back, tell a friend.
The first article that I want to talk about with regards to this restraint issue was issued back on May 2nd of last year. So we're coming up in a couple of months. Restraints, Seclusion Assailed. And it was a 2-pager. And in this article, the parent, Brennetta Henry, was called into school so much about her student on the autism spectrum who was restrained that she had to lose her job because she was called in so frequently. That's unsettling. Teachers should teach, parents need to be at work to provide, and if necessary, discipline them at home with certain things. Yes, discipline has to be handled while they're at school as well for the immediate gratification of those disciplinary actions. But the article talks about the issue of escalating behaviors. And for teachers to use that terminology and not define it for parents might be alarming. So for you, I'm going to define escalating. Escalate is a verb that means to increase rapidly or become or cause to become increasingly intense or serious. The article discusses holding schools and those who work with these children at a higher standard, which is always a good thing to hold people at a higher standard. It may be a little hard in some fields, but I don't think education is a bad thing to try to hold to a higher standard. I think I've repeated that phrase quite a bit. Let's move on. So there's a term of Keeping All Students Safe Act, which basically, in addition to lessening restraint and the seclusion rooms, adds the concept of when the same child is in a restraint for 4 or more times within a 20-day consecutive time span, a meeting should be triggered. and it is up to the administration to see if this policy should continue or if something needs to change in order to make this less of a increasing, escalating thing that happens with this child. So I think that this is a great idea, especially with the article mentioning so many health risks and really quite injurious things that have happened with students. Now, I've reviewed quite a bit of articles from various reporters for the Hartford Courant, and I've said my opinions about the article content as well as some of the writing styles. And Josh Kovner, who wrote this informative article, didn't do the greatest job of writing of it. I do love the pictures because it really shows the need for change at this particular school. It was not a public school. It's the Connecticut Juvenile Training School for boys and girls near Pueblo. And Josh Kovner, the author of this Kids in Shackles article, which was published September 16th of this past year. The beginning of the article gives you a lot of vital information about where this is taking place, what professionals are responsible for this action, and even onto the second page, what needs to change. But then the majority of the second page is pretty graphic information about what actually happens at this training school and how these children are self-harming and restraint must be an option for them. Again, you know my feelings, especially from my previous video called Restraint, about the 3 reasons to restrain and the 3 reasons not to restrain. So a lot might fall in this category, but learning about these restraints, some of these children mentioned in the article are using a restraint type to commit suicide or attempt suicide. So it's not the greatest idea to add restraint on top of a restraint-based suicide attempt. Now, this article talks about the state standards with regards to restraining. And it says some of the videos that were posted on the website depict children face down in restraints, which is illegal in Connecticut and prohibited of treatment centers that have contracts with the state. State laws limit the use of restraints to instances in which a youth is posing an imminent risk of harm. I'm not going to go into the rest of the article because it's a lot like what you've seen in the news lately.
Picture at the heart of a new and growing controversy in American schools. This is a padded room, a photo spreading from Washington state to parents around the country. They are called isolation rooms, and they're used to restrain some children, including autistic ones. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross brings us videotape, and we warn you, it's not always easy to watch.
This surveillance video shows high school student Andre McCollins in the lower right of the screen, about to go through what his school calls skin shock therapy for misbehavior. About 60 volts of therapy. There are no national standards for the punishments or restraints used on school children, including those like Andre with behavior disabilities, later tied Spread Eagle to a restraint board.
No.
And what happened at this school outside Boston, an extreme example, was entirely legal.
They held me like... Even for the bravest person in the world, it's still really scary.
Now, anyone who has had Sunday breakfast brunch with my family knows my feelings about any article that John Roseman of the Hartford Courant writes. I am not a fan of this psychologist. He is talking about parenting as opposed to school, but I like drawing those connections and seeing what would be appropriate at home and what would be appropriate at school to try and see if we can combine these into one raising a child style. So this is the article. A tantrum place will keep the peace. And school systems are saying that seclusion is a wrong thing. John Roseman is saying quite the opposite, that there should be a room in which that child can feel free to have that tantrum, but then calm themselves down and realize, all right, now it's time for me to get ready to rejoin the rest of the world, whether it be my parents, my siblings, my playmates, my friends. A few things that I did highlight in the article that I did think were good. I know, shocking, right? I thought something that John Roseman said was good. But a couple things were the steadfast teaching a child that reality is not going to cooperate with that narcissistic fancy. It's true. We don't appreciate narcissism in playing. You need to learn how to share. Then again, please stay away from the internet with all those selfies because we kind of love narcissism in that sense. Temper tantrums are very special things, so they need a very special place. Using the word special, you see a lot with 2, 3-year-olds and even the early elementary ages. But then it becomes juvenile and kids aren't willing to listen to the word special when referring to places. John Roseman says, go to your tantrum place, and this is an important one. If you need help getting there, I will help you get there. You can scream as long and as loud as you want, but when you can't come out until the screaming is done. So I think that that is a great concept. Unfortunately, with the thin walls at schools, it's not always feasible, but I'd like to see how that could be incorporated into schools. Well, those are my 1, 2, 3 articles. Thank you for watching. I think another video that I'm planning on doing will be teaching those techniques that I learned in my PMT course. So you have that to look forward to. And don't forget to subscribe, buttons down below. Thanks. Gold star to whoever realized my hair is not restrained anymore.